Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day, and a happy NFL schedule release day to everybody. And speaking of that, right on topic, coming up on the show, the Niners 2025 schedule has been released. This is the leaked version. We're almost positive this is the right thing. So if any changes do happen, we'll, of course, pass along that information to you right here on the show. But an 18-week schedule, 17-game season, it is set for San Francisco, looking to rebound after last year's 6-11 campaign. We start off with today's poll question. What will the Niners' record be in 2025? Let me know down in the comment section. Embrace debate. Join that conversation. And I'm interested to see where the fan base is at, considering how poorly the Niners played last year. All right, let's get it underway. The 49ers will begin the 2025 campaign on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a Seahawks team that went through a pretty large makeover this offseason. They traded away Geno Smith, traded away DK Metcalf, let go of longtime wide receiver Tyler Lockett. They brought in Sam Darnold. They signed Dexter Lawrence. And I really like what they did in the NFL draft, taking players like Gray Zabel, Nick Emanwari, Elijah Arroyo. And so this Seahawks team is going to be improved. And, of course, this is one of the more hostile rivalries in the entire National Football League. And to begin the season on the road against Seattle, it's going to be a difficult test for the Niners to kick off the 2025 campaign. The Niners will then go on the road again in Week 2 to play the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, no primetime games in 2025. And so the schedule makers are expecting New Orleans to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. I agree. And when you think about these first two games, a wonderful opportunity, even though the Niners are on the road, to start off 2-0. The Niners will have their home opener at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the site of Super Bowl 60, Week 3 against the Arizona Cardinals. And it's pretty crazy to think about how the Cardinals have been such a thorn in the side of the Niners in recent memory. For instance, last year, Arizona swept San Francisco. They pitched a second-half shutout in Week 5, and then in Week 18, they dominated the Niners. And even when Arizona hasn't won against the Niners, they have proved to be a difficult test. Big year coming up for Jonathan Gannon, the head coach, and Kyler Murray. Week 4, Niners stay inside the friendly confines of Levi's Stadium to host the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talk about big years coming up for individual players. That is the case for Trevor Lawrence. Can Liam Cohen, the former Buccaneers offensive coordinator, who did wonders with Baker Mayfield, bring the best out of T-Law? And of these first 4 games, I think the highlight matchup, Niners on the road against the Seahawks. That Seahawks win at Levi's Stadium, the Geno Smith walk-off touchdown pretty much in the final seconds, really put the nail in the coffin for the Niners' 2024 season. And Seattle last year, they went 10-7. Niners, 6-11. So two teams that ended 2024 in opposite trajectories, even though Seattle, toward the end of the year, collapsed a little bit and they were unable to make the playoffs. But they're an intriguing team going into 2025. First of 5 primetime matchups for the Niners this year will happen Week 5. Niners on the road to play the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. And I like how this is set up because you go from a couple of home games, then you have a short week, and all you have to do is travel down from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Easy flight, short week. And then, after you play the Rams on the road on Thursday Night Football, you have an extended mini bye to cross the country to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Remember last year when we were talking about this awful rest disadvantage for the Niners that was nearly a month worse than the NFL compared to some of the top teams in the NFL? It's not going to be the case this year, and the Niners have the easiest schedule in 2025 based upon the opponents' Vegas forecasted win totals. And so some thoughts with these games. The Rams, they gave the Philadelphia Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, their most difficult game in the playoffs. They added Devontae Adams. They lose Cooper Kupp. I think that defense is going to take another stride. And Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jared Verse. That Rams team is legit, and they're a threat to, of course, represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and they're a threat to win the NFC West. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what a game that was last year when Jake Moody missed, 3 field goals, and then he was finally able to get his redemption after Brock Purdy put the team on his back for that thrilling game-winning drive. They lose Liam Cohen. So what does Baker Mayfield and that offense look like? Week 7. This is a weird primetime game. And a couple of the primetime games that the Niners have, the opponents that they face, they're not like nationwide, worldwide draws. For instance, the Atlanta Falcons, not a lot of hype being generated around that team. They come to Santa Clara on Sunday Night Football. Opportunity for San Francisco to beat the brakes off of a bad football team, which last year had the fewest sacks in the NFL. Their sack percentage was dead last, and they're one of the worst overall defenses in the league. Week 8, we get to see D'Amico Ryans again. Niners go on the road to play the Houston Texans. The Texans last year were a little bit disappointing because C.J. Stroud had a little bit of a sophomore slump. And I looked at Houston going into 2024 as one of the teams that could sneakily compete in the AFC, and it just never really came to fruition like that. Now, they ended up winning a playoff game, but they just weren't all that good, or at least reaching expectations. But that D'Amico Ryans defense, a very, very good one, and it's going to be a tall test. D'Amico against Kyle Shanahan. And of these matchups here, the one to focus in on for me, Niners, Rams. The Rams swept San Francisco last year, and they were really the team that was the model of the NFC West last year. And in back-to-back years, they kind of started slow, and then toward the midway point of the year, they really catch fire. They start to peak under Sean McVay, who has had a bunch of winning seasons since taking over the Rams. And once again, the Rams going to be a really, really good team in the National Football League. And of course, when you think about games at SoFi Stadium, that's why we deem it Levi Stadium South, because there is always a bunch of Niner red and gold taking over the joint. Before we continue to push forward on today's show, this is why you should subscribe to the channel. The NFL schedule not going to get released for another couple of hours. We have it already. And on top of that, we give you daily Niners coverage, covering everything from news, rumors, to analysis. We do live shows, watch parties for all Niners games. We involve you. And I have 5 key pillars on this show that I try to accomplish every time I'm in front of this camera and on this microphone. I want all my Niners videos for all of the faithful to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice. So if that sounds good, lock us in, hit that subscribe button, and we're always competing. Last year, for the 2024 schedule release, we picked up 28 new subscribers. Today, come on now, let's crush that number. If you want a Niners jersey in the lead up to this 2025 campaign, get yours today. Chatsports.com/49jersey. All types of different jerseys available. And there's a lot of chatter on social media that the Niners could be debuting some new look uniforms for the 2025 season. Some rumors that maybe they're going to bring back those black uniforms, maybe gold or vanilla. They've submitted some color schemes. And now there's a new NFL rule where teams can have a couple of different helmets. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, get your Niners jerseys, which are available right now. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics at chatsports.com/49jersey. Men's, women's, kids, authentic replicas, current players, former players, whatever you need, Fanatics has got you covered. I'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's 49ers report. Let's get back to it. Week 9. Niners cross the country to take on the New York Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to be a playoff team, but I do think they're vastly improved from last year. Really like the selection of Abdul Carter. You put him alongside Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. That is one of the top defensive lines in football, going up against the Niners offensive line that is still very suspect. At this point of the year, who will the Giants quarterback be? Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, or the rookie Jackson Dart? We'll certainly see, but the Giants, they did improve a lot in my opinion. Week 10, another game in this series against the Los Angeles Rams. This time, the Niners will welcome the Rams to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. Week 11, the second of two matchups against the Arizona Cardinals. So a couple of divisional games back-to-back here for the Niners. Week 12, I mentioned this earlier. These primetime games for the Niners, they're not going up against juicy opponents. Falcons in primetime, Panthers on Monday Night Football. I will say Bryce Young, with the way that he finished last year, it does make the Panthers an intriguing team because he played better football in year two than C.J. Stroud did. And after year one, those two quarterbacks were on different sides of the scale because C.J. Stroud was so much better. The Niners will then go on the road for the second time in 3 seasons to play the Cleveland Browns. Kyle Shanahan is like 0-9 against Jim Schwartz. At this point of the season, you have to worry about weather and inclement weather this late in the year in Cleveland, Ohio. It feels as though whenever I watch a Browns game, the sun is never out. How does Brock Purdy fare if it is raining, snowing, cold on the road against Cleveland? The marquee matchup from this segment of games here, Carolina Panthers, I guess. You know, they were 5-12 a year ago. I don't think that their win-loss record is going to drastically change. But if Bryce Young can take another leap, this could be one of those games where the Niners get a sneaky test. Late bye week for the Niners this year. They were one of the most injury-prone teams in the NFL a year ago. And this year, their bye week will be week 14, an opportunity to recharge and reset for the stretch run. Then they come off the bye, and they're at home against the Tennessee Titans. There was a reason why Tennessee had the number 1 overall pick and took Cam Ward. So Cam Ward, number 1 pick, I imagine he'll be the starting quarterback at this point, is going to be coming to the Niners, and we'll have an opportunity to see the former Miami, Washington State, and Incarnate Word quarterback. Had a crazy path as a college player. Week 16, Niners have another primetime game, and it's on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. So Colts, Panthers, Falcons, 3 of those primetime games included in the 5, where you're like, that's not an opponent that you would think the Niners would be taking on in a primetime spot. Week 17, though, it is one of those games. The Niners will host Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. For the Colts, a lot of questions. The late season chatter out of Indianapolis was really ugly. Shane Steichen wasn't holding players accountable. Anthony Richardson asked to be checked out of a game last year. His accuracy was a problem at Florida. It's been a problem at the NFL level. Will Daniel Jones be starting for Indy? I do like their pick of Tyler Warren. DeForest Buckner, obviously, still on Indianapolis. But in the AFC South, a division that I think is going to be somewhat competitive, I don't see the Colts having a lot of success. And the Bears, I think they're one of the more fascinating teams going into 2025. They shored up the offensive line. Caleb Williams going into year 2. They brought in the Whiz Kid, one of the most sought-after offensive coordinators in football the last few years, in Ben Johnson. Their defense is good. They drafted Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, and I think the Bears are one of those teams who could go from worst to first. Then week 18, regular season finale, the Niners will take on the Seattle Seahawks. This game right here could have playoff and NFC West implications, and so the Niners start the year against Seattle. They end the year against the Seahawks as well. The marquee matchup for the last 4 here, that game against the Chicago Bears. I expect the Niners to be competing for a playoff spot. I expect the Bears to be competing for a playoff spot as well. The change from Matt Eberflus to Ben Johnson is like insanely drastic and crazy, where Matt Eberflus has been and was one of the worst head coaches that I've ever seen in recent memory at the NFL level. And Ben Johnson has an opportunity to be a very good one. And so the Bears 5-12 last year, the Niners 6-11. Both of these teams looking to reverse that tide. And let's recap this schedule here. So week 1 on the road against Seattle, week 2 on the road against New Orleans. So there's back-to-back away games to kick off the season. And then 2 home games against the Cardinals, home opener, against the Jags. Short week, short travel, though, on the road against the Rams, Thursday Night Football. Week 6 on the road against the Buccaneers. That's cross-country, but off that extended week of rest. Week 7 against the Falcons. And so You have a little bit more rest traveling back to Northern California because you do play late on Sunday. Week 8 on the road against the Texans, that's not a far trip. Week 9, cross-country travel against the Giants, but when you're a California West Coast team, you oftentimes are traveling some of the most miles in the NFL. Week 10, second matchup against the Rams, this time at home. Week 11, second matchup against the Cardinals on the road. Panthers on Monday Night Football in Week 12, on the road against the Browns in Week 13, a Week 14 bye for the Niners, Week 15 at home against Tennessee, Week 16 Monday Night Football, Week 17 back at home against the Bears on Sunday Night Football, and the final game of the 2025 season at home against the Seattle Seahawks. We go back to today's poll question. What will the Niners' record be in 2025? Predict it for me tomorrow. I'll give you my record prediction, so be on the lookout for that.